Hey everybody, this is Lyndsey Parker for LPTV. I have to look at this because you have so many credits, Josh. I want to welcome to our studio singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist.
That's probably at the bottom of the list.
No, it's at the top, because especially with what you're doing now. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Josh Klinghoffer. People may know you from, I'm going to do my Troy McClure voice. People may know you from your work with Pearl Jam, Elton John and Brandy Carlisle last year, Jane's Addiction, Red Cross, Sparks, Gnarls Barkley, The Bicycle Thief, if we're going way back, and of course, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But singularly, you are known as the one-man show, Plural One. And there's a new album by Plural One coming out on June 12th, A Drop in the Ocean, where I'm very excited to have you because we're here in the Valley and you are LA royalty and sort of Valley adjacent royalty, right?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Valley royalty.
Are you Valley royalty? I think you grew up in Santa Monica, according to your Wikipedia page.
No, I was born there.
Okay.
At St. John's Hospital, but I grew up here.
You grew up in the Valley?
Yeah, north of here. Like, I always used to think that because Ventura was, and then on the other side of the hill was, Hollywood and everything.
Over the hill, they called it.
This would be north because you're going up in the world, but I'm from the north.
North Hollywood?
Nope. Northridge.
Northridge. All right. Very cool. I did not know that because I don't know if you ever knew that I grew up in Tarzana.
No, I did.
So we did grow. I don't.
So you were in my mind. You were up there, but you're actually down. You're
south of the boulevard. Yeah. There was a thing. There was a line of demarcation then. Yeah. But it was all about going over the hill, over Laurel Canyon, which is real close to here. That was like that was the
gateway.
That was the journey to paradise. Is you went over the hill over Laurel, and then all the clubs where you got your start with the Bicycle Thief and all the other bands you played in. That was all in Hollywood. But,
yes, it was.
Yeah, so you are proper Valley royalty.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Yeah,
so that's really cool. That you're here.
I'm done.
Did you? It's funny. I wonder if you feel this way. When I grew up in the Valley, we're talking about like going over the hill in Hollywood. I did not think the Valley was cool. I did not have Valley pride. I liked the movie, but I thought the song was dumb. And no offense, I like it now, Moon Zappa. But like now, I have a bit of Valley pride. When I meet someone like you from the Valley, I talk about it here at the store. I'm like, Valley.
Yeah,
you feel the same way.
Exactly the same way. Yeah. Certainly didn't think it was cool growing up there, but mostly just because it was far. Like there was nothing going on. So.
How did you used to get over the hill to play your gigs or shop on Melrose or do all the other Hollywood fun stuff?
I got my driver's license the very first second I was legally allowed to do that. So,
which kids don't do now these days.
So I hear, which is nuts. But I did on my 16th birthday, the minute the DMV opened, and then made it home in time on that, whatever that October morning to see the OJ verdict read. That was my birthday, 16th birthday.
Oh, wow. You could have been, with your new license, been on the same freeway next to that white Bronco. No, I guess that was a couple of months before.
Yeah, before.
Wow, what a strange day to remember.
I had the day he was on that freeway being chased by the police, I had a gig at Mancini's. Do you remember Mancini's? There was Deep Valley, like, I want to say.
Wait, like.
Sherman Way and way out there. Like.
Vaguely.
Yeah, it was. I mean, by that time, it was kind of like a hard rock club, but me and my two friends, who were very much not that type of music, were playing there, and I was late. I was like, who cares? Something in me told myself, like, this doesn't matter. I got to watch this.
The whole world was watching that, but if you were in LA and you were watching, it was 405 freeway, right? You were watching, like, it was where... We knew where it was happening.
Yeah. It was. It
hit different.
South of us. I don't think he made it up this far, right? No.
I don't know where he was going. Was he trying to go to Mexico? Or
I don't know. I don't know if he knew.
Well,
he
that's
just told
for another
Al
time.
to drive.
That's for another time. But yes, so you grew up in the Valley, and obviously I was planning to just dive right into the new album, but since we're starting here, you had deep roots. I mentioned the Bicycle Thief. You were like 15. That was a band with Bob Forrest from Thelonious Monster. But was that your first band, or did it start even before that?
No, I mean I had a band or two with friends, like in school or whatever, but they don't really count. Bicycle Thief, I'd say. Well, actually. Before that, my first music that I played outside of the Valley, going into Hollywood, was I played with Shepherd from Pygmy Love Circus.
I remember Pygmy Love Circus. Didn't they become Orgy? Or am I confusing them with another band that had a similar, like, there were a lot of bands in those early 90s that had like 3 names. Like
right,
the Pygmy Love Circus.
No, I don't know if there was Orgy. They could have been. There was Danny from Tool played drums in Pygmy Love Circus, Green Jelly, and Tool. at the time. So I, through a friend of
That's
mine
hilarious.
who was a bit older than me, he went to CSUN film school with Shepard, and he said, "Oh, there's this guy, Shep. I think Shepard was like, his late 30s at the time. I was 15. That was 15. I think I started playing with Bob when I was 17.
Okay.
The ripe old age
Your
of 17.
Wikipedia page, I believe, is wrong.
Oh, really?
Or-
So I see. If I was on tour, I would spend the entire night trying to get that changed.
That's all right.
But
I
luckily I'm
mean,
not.
I don't really need, we don't need necessarily talk very much about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but what I remember is when bands like Pygmy Love Circus and a lot of other bands whose names I don't remember started to become big in LA, I kind of saw that as that effect. Like all the bands that had been kind of dressed hair metally were starting to wear shorts and like no shirt. They
Yeah,
were starting
yeah.
to look a little more bro-y, and I remember being like, they're all trying to be like the Peppers. But
Yeah, I think there was like there may have been like, I don't know if it was one side or not, but there was like there was maybe a little animosity between those two bands anyway. So,
really?
yeah, I think.
There was a feud. There some
Or
tea.
there was a rude song written.
But in general, not even just about the Peppers, but you've played in Jane's Addiction before. You filled in for Dave Navarro recently when before all the crazy stuff happened with them when he was dealing with long COVID. And that was a time in LA. There was The Loneliest Monster. There was Jane's Addiction. There was Red Hot Chili Peppers. There was Fishbone. Mary's Danish, some other bands that maybe didn't get signed or people watching this might not know, but there was a kind of changing of the guard in general happening. I've named some of the big fishes in the pond, but like something was happening. People a lot of times talk about Nirvana as being like the bands that like made the hair metal go away, but in LA it was the bands I just mentioned. Do you remember that time? And did you feel like, oh, like all the Poison bands, Tough, all those Rainbow Parking Lot bands were going away and there's like this new thing happening?
Well, I was a little young to watch it happen firsthand. Like I was going to shows at that time, but I watched it happen on MTV and I watched it happen on the radio because I was sort of, when I was younger, I was into some of those bands. Guns N' Roses being an LA band, I was really into them. And then suddenly there was a cultural shift, and Motley Crue was an LA band, and and suddenly
They started wearing
they
shorts.
were gone. Yeah, they started. Right.
They started wearing shorts.
But yeah, I mean, I saw it happen just like everyone, sort of overnight. But yeah, I mean, I missed all the amazing stuff that was going on here by a couple of years. But I've been so lucky in my life to be able to jump on and somehow latch onto the a few coattails and to the point where you're calling me Valley royalty.
Yeah, absolutely are. I'm going to get into the record now, and also I do want to kind of maybe at the end of this lightning round some of the other people you've played it. But since you mentioned Guns N' Roses, am I recalling correctly? This must have been a cool moment for you. You got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've just been corrected by you. At the time, you had the record for being the person who was the youngest inductee at the time of induction. You've since been usurped.
And found out about it in a situation much like this.
So you got usurped by
Elon Rubin
with Nine Inch Nails.
From Nine Inch Nails, now Foo Fighters.
How many? It's crazy. It's all connected. How many months or years did he beat you by?
Not much. I think
quick.
he was 31 or something when he was because he's a bit younger than me in general, but it happened several years apart. So yeah, he was 31 when he got in. I think I was 32.
Okay, so but Guns N' Roses, I think were at the same. I mean, they didn't play. It was before Hell Froze Over, and they got back together. But because it did happen in this lifetime.
But they were there was something. If my memory serves, they did. Did they play maybe with Slash's singer? Like there was some music played, and
okay,
or
I'll have to review the tapes. Axl wasn't there, right?
He wasn't, but I think there was talk. They didn't know if Axl was going to show right until the last minute. So I remember being at a venue, the House of Blues, or Chili Peppers played there the day after this ceremony. But somewhere in Cleveland, I went to a theater and watched, or they didn't want anyone to watch it, but we listened to GNR practice because either they had another singer for a couple songs, or they thought Axl was going to show up. So the whole band was ready to go, and they were rehearsing, and me and Chad and I remember we were there, we were listening.
They should have just done it because they eventually did it. That's why I'm going off on a tangent, but I recently interviewed Peter Hook, and he has basically made it clear that don't expect a New Order reunion. And I'm just like, just do it.
I thought I just read that he he wouldn't rule it out. He wasn't like totally against it. I
That's
felt
not
like
what
I
he told
just
me.
saw that somewhere.
He said no. I'll have to look at that later. But
like it was sort of like it wasn't like I'm in. It was more like a.
he told me no. It was unforgivable what they did. To him
Okay,
and his son.
maybe I read that wrong.
You're from all the bands you've been in. Whether it's the Peppers, whether it's sort of being on the sidelines for Jane's. Even your work with Red Cross and knowing how brothers can sometimes not get along. That band situations can be fraught. So it must be. I don't know if the word's relief, but it must be kind of nice in some way to do things on your own with Plural One and just be like a one-man band.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have the tendency sometimes to argue with myself and be indecisive and then even rude to myself and abusive. But
Aw,
but
don't
not
be so hard on yourself.
I know. But people are,
Own worst critic.
They're just completely ridiculous and unreasonable sometimes. But yeah, no, it is. It's fun to sort of like at the end of the day, like just have something to show for like my choices. Ooh, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today. That's really long stomach growl.
We'll get you some food.
Yeah,
afterwards.
Yeah.
So the first time I interviewed you was when the first Plural One record came out, and I don't remember what it was called. I'm sorry. What was it called?
I didn't remember what it was called the other day either. It was I think it was called To Be One With You. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was right before. It was an interesting time. It was like right before COVID happened. It was very shortly after you had left the Chili Peppers, but you had joined Pearl Jam and were supposed to go on tour with them, but then COVID happened. And Pearl Jam, to their credit, were one of the first bands to realize that touring was not a good idea.
Right.
And then you were in lockdown for a while, and then you did I Don't Feel Well, and that came out, I believe, during COVID. This is your fourth album now, but there's been different circumstances. And
do we speak? I can't remember. Do we speak? Because that record came out on November 22nd, and
of 2019.
Yeah, but I was still in the band for another 3 weeks. So do we? Was that?
No, it was afterwards, because
Okay.
I remember I was asking you a bunch of questions about it on live radio, and you're like, "Thanks, Lyndsey," but you gave, you were, you had already spoken about it on a couple other things, but on the positive side, you were like, "Hey, I just joined Pearl Jam, my favorite band from childhood, so like it's all good."
Oh yeah, and that was sort of that was a secret still.
Oh,
at
you
that
gave me a
point.
scoop then that day.
No, but did I give the whole world a scoop?
It was on the radio.
Oh, okay.
Josh,
I don't
it's
remember.
out there.
Yeah. All right.
But then, you ended up having this unexpected downtime, and you made another record. And so everyone has been different. And I did read in the press release for A Drop in the Ocean, I imagine like your second and third records were at least partially made during lockdown. And so like what was basically going on in the background for this current one, lockdown's over, you have toured and played with a bunch of cool people since. We could talk about that. But, you've talked about how you made this record during what seemed like a hopeful time, and now maybe it's
less
hopeful. So what was going on in your life and the world while you were making this fourth record? Because every circumstance has been different.
This one, a lot of these songs were born or written or begun during that sort of bright time and towards like right where we are now, like spring of 2021, when we were sort of opening again, and we thought maybe the pandemic. It was like pre Omicron, like
what was the other one? Delta.
Yeah. I think we got up pretty high in that alphabet, but there was this kind of sunny period where. I mean, I know I went to New York. Some of the stuff was written there because it was like, we're opening again. And I drove across country.
We're all vaccinated, and the vaccination will work.
Yeah, and that was definitely around that time because I remember not being able to leave town until I got my second vaccination. But so there was a bit of a hopeful kind of feeling in the air. And then, so that was 2021. And then and then I flew back from that New York trip to play with Eddie at the Vax Live show.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Was that like Dodger State or like?
No, it was a SoFi.
Oh, were the Foo Fighters also at it?
Yes, with Brian Johnson.
It was like that was the like opening of SoFi, and I think one of the first like really big shows, at least in LA. after all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff we'd been through.
I think it was the
completely remember
first
this.
live show at SoFi.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Which, yeah.
And
yeah.
you were there.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize you played that. How cool.
Yeah, it was myself, and Eddie and these great brothers, and it was like a, last minute. Like I think I knew about it like a week before, and I flew out, and it was great.
Was it weird to be back on stage in a huge arena or stadium like that after, I assume, pretty much being in your house for like a year?
Yes, and everything was still a little funny, like there was still probably some testing and some masks and whatever. I can't remember now how long after that it kind of shut down again. And I feel like that was that autumn. It got really intense again.
It was like, yay, never mind.
Yes,
yay. It was a weird time.
It was a weird time.
So a lot of these songs for A Drop in the Ocean actually predate songs that came out on like your third or second album then. If I'm doing the chronology right. Like they're older songs you...
No, well, these would be, I think, just after some of those. Cause this one, like if I had put out a record in 19, 20, 21, this would have been the one that was supposed to come out in 22. Oh. But having written them and, I started recording them in 22 and then, but I was also doing a fair amount of touring with Pearl Jam that year. So I just never finished them and that was fine. I'll just, get to them when I'm done with this tour. And then I started recording some more songs in 2023 and just kept working on these. And then I had too much to finish. Nothing ever got done, more touring. And then we found ourselves in 2025 last year. And I finally had some time to really focus and finish. So that's what this album's a little late.
Better late than never.
That's exactly what I thought.
But how does it feel to, I guess, revisit songs that you might have made or written during a time when you were feeling hopeful or you were feeling like the world was a compassionate place, and now you're releasing them in 2026 where we got other problems now. COVID is not our problem so much anymore, but we got other problems.
Well, luckily, I always leave a bit sort of undone or unfinished until I really commit to it, until I put the vocal down or, so I'm sure I tweaked a little bit of the writing and I sort of adapted them to whatever the world feels like now. But yeah, I don't know. I think, the fact that there's a hopefulness to these songs I actually don't know if it sounds like that to people. Because someone told me after I played it to them recently, they're like, Jesus. Like that. So I don't know if it actually sounds hopeful, but it was a hopeful time that a lot of the songs were born. So maybe I tailored it a bit. Look at that segue. Maybe I kind of, dressed it up in 2026 clothing and to me it has my sort of overarching dichotomy, which is, I think this is a shit show that we're living amongst, but somehow there's a hopefulness, I guess, because if not, you can't get out of bed, really.
Yeah, I mean, we all could use a little hope. I don't think I thought the record sounded hopeless. I mean, there's a melancholy to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit more direct. It's a lot of acoustic songs. It's hard to. I think it's just overall hard for me to sound happy and hopeful, really. But there's I think there's maybe a sweetness to some of it.
I assume I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but I assume you're like a big Elliott Smith fan, right?
Yeah.
Because I hear, I hear that.
That's very apparent on this. Sometimes I can't even listen to him because, like, I'll have to go through long periods of not even putting him on because
Elliott, you mean?
Yeah, because it'll just come out in my, everything. I'm like, everything I'm playing sounds like him. Every chord change I think sounds cool for a second. I'm just like, Jesus.
Did you know him? Because he lived in LA for a while.
He did. And I met him once very, very briefly. And when I say briefly, I mean, we just shook hands because I have a friend called Aaron Embry, who's another amazing LA musician and singer, songwriter. He was in his band for a bit back around Figure 8. So Elliott and the band at the time was Sam Coombs and Scott McPherson and Aaron Embry, and they were an amazing band, and they played at Irving Plaza in New York, and I weaseled my way into the room, and Elliot was kind of warming up, and Aaron just said, "Oh, this is my friend Josh," and I kind of at a certain point a long time ago, I went off meeting people. I never wanted to be in other people's. I never wanted to get in the way. I never I felt like what is it going to do? Me meet them. I felt like if Elliot Smith looked at them and said, "Oh my God, we should be friends." I don't know why I feel this way. Like, I didn't think that was going to happen. So
was that a never meet your heroes thing? Because you've worked with so many heroes at this point.
Yeah,
like
well,
Elton
and in
John
all those
stuff.
situations, it's kind of like there's a reason I'm there, so I meet them, and it's great.
Right.
Just sort of like, hey, this is my friend Josh. Like,
well, when I make the Elliot comparisons, and I'm not saying in a way like you're ripping him off or anything, just like I hear that. Have you ever been told that your vocals sound like Mark Bolan?
Oh no!
Like in his Tyrannosaurus Rex folky era.
No, but that's lovely. But I think if you don't have one, I should get you one. But Chad and I made a T-Rex cover 7-inch where we did
Jeepster.
Yeah,
for Record
and
Store Day.
Monolith. Yeah.
I've heard about it. I
You
would
don't have
love to.
one?
I've never heard it.
You've got one
That's
coming
so
your
cool.
way. Yeah. So
you are a fan.
I am a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But has anyone ever told you? I'd never noticed it until this record for some reason. Not on
no.
every song. I wish I could, but certain songs, it's like maybe the trebliness of it or.
I love that you caught that. So I love him and I love his singing. So I'm always when we did that cover 7-inch, I was actually like free to completely impersonate him. So I was like, I've always had a hard time with my voice. There's a lot of the times I can't stand it, but I have a good ear and I'm a good mimic, so I can sound like lots of different people. But when it comes to sounding like myself, maybe this is a deeper, personal, philosophical kind of gap that I have, but sounding like myself sometimes is hard, and especially then liking what I hear back. But I just sang karaoke the other night with some friends at a friend's house, and I went from Ghetto Boys to Nick Cave to Radiohead to something else, Beastie Boys, I think. And I'm just doing impressions of all these people, and it's a bit of a jump, all this.
Not to name drop, because I did not know Elliot at all. I wish I had. Never even interviewed him. But I did meet him once, and it's tied to you. I had a karaoke birthday party many years ago, and one of the people, Steve McDonald came to the party with Anna, his wife, and they brought Elliot Smith. I don't know why. I think Elliot might have even played that night, or I don't know. They brought him. And he did Wild Horses at Brass Monkey.
Oh my goodness, really?
And I really wanted to, that would have been the time to meet him and go up to him and be like, excellent cover, great song choice, but I was too intimidated. And he wasn't like really at my party. It was like a bar and he happened to just be there. And I wish that people had, it was like kind of before people had iPhones. So I do not have any video. I swear it happened. But that's pretty funny. But
my friend did Wild Horses the other night, but the Sundays version.
Oh, nice.
That's funny though. Now that I think of it, this was a very Guinness heavy time for me. But I think I played drums once at Largo. John Bryan, I used to sort of weasel my way into his live shows once in a while, and I think Elliot was on stage with us once, and I was playing drums. Did I make that up?
It's
but we didn't meet.
It's kind of cool when you've had such a storied career that like you would not. That would be like almost
something
like a footnote.
Yeah.
Other people, if they were on stage with Elliot Smith, it would have been like the biggest highlight of their entire life. But for you, it's just another night in LA. I don't mean that.
No, it's
but you
true,
know what I mean.
Because I'm actually, it's funny unless I just made it up and that he was up there.
I'm
pretty sure he was there.
I choose to believe it. But to go back to what you said, why don't you like your voice? Why do you have issues with
I don't
your
know.
voice?
It's just always been the case. I don't know.
Is that why you normally aren't the front man?
No, I think that's just maybe. Yeah. I mean, yeah, probably.
So going back to this record, I talked about how they were all made in different circumstances, pre-COVID, mid-COVID, post-COVID. And in the press release for A Drop in the Ocean, you said that for the first time in your life, you feel like you don't have all the time in the world. to make a record, or I don't know. That's a direct quote.
To be alive.
I don't know. It's a direct quote.
Oh,
And that
yeah,
was
yeah.
like the sense of urgency, I guess, you had while making this record. And of course, that sentence popped out at me, like why you feel that way and why you didn't feel that way before, but do now.
Oh, I think I'm referring to the fact that I'm now closer to 50 than I ever have been. And that's shocking to me. I mean, I still look like a child a lot of the time. So
You do.
and I still live very much like a child.
I relate.
And I'm, so for the first time, I'm sort of like thinking about how many more records or how many more songs I get to record and release, and how much more of this I get to do, which is, it's not like I'm saying I'm, like I feel like it's fine, but it's the first time I ever thought of that.
That affect the lyrics of specific songs or in general?
Gosh, I can't remember. Well, there's one song where I'm talking about, there's very nostalgic lyrical content. The I Don't Want to Let You Go song, I think it's called I Don't Want to Let You Go. And there's many things that I don't want to let go. So last time I think we spoke, unless I'm confusing this, because we run into each other all the time.
Well, you very rarely leave the house, but when you do, you tend to run into me. And yes, it was at the Gorillas show.
At Gorillas, yeah. And I had heard they played their full record that night. I think I told you, like, oh yeah, I don't know, I've only listened to the record a couple times. I did a complete 180 on that record, and it was from that show, how much I loved that show.
And that whole album's about like loss and death.
And I
The Mountain.
And I listened to it nonstop for a couple weeks after that. But why did I bring this up? We were talking about
mortality and the lyrics. I asked if there were songs on A Drop in the Ocean.
Oh, well, I think I watched a bunch of press that Damon and Jamie have done, and they were talking about being anti-nostalgists or something like that. And I can't help a lot of time be nostalgic for a different time when life was less shit. Or, and I mean that generally, just like when there was less social media and less distance, between people. I think
it's okay to be nostalgic as long as it doesn't get to the extremes of like a lot of older people with a boomer mentality, whether they're actual boomers or they're Gen Xers or millennials. But if you get into that mindset that like everything sucks more now, like music was better then, everything was better then, like,
which I'm guilty of. We're
all guilty of it. But if you're nostalgic to the point where you're not enjoying now, or you wish you could get in a time machine and go back. I've had that conversation with people. I'll ask you, actually. I wasn't planning to ask you this. If you could go back in a time machine to any year or age you were, any point in time within your lifetime, don't like say I would go back to Studio 54 or whatever, although that would be awesome. But you know what I mean?
In
like,
my lifetime.
Yeah, that would, but you would have been like 2 or something.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, if you could go back to any point in your life in a time machine and freeze yourself in that year, that age, is there one that you would do?
Well, I guess the only thing I could say, and it's only because I generally wouldn't say it, that there was one, but
right, exactly. That's, if you think that way, then your nostalgia's gone too far. But is there one like halcyon? If you could go back,
it's not even halcyon. It's just that there is a period where I just stopped, I just stopped playing with Bob, and something happened where I was able to record basically an album's worth of stuff uninterrupted. So I have this record that I made on my 8-track. And with that music, I think I was planning on starting a whole new life, and it didn't happen. And so
why?
Because I started going on tour with people, which was an amazing experience. So I can't say that it's something that I would have preferred to have done. But to answer your question, if I could go back in time now that I've experienced everything I've experienced, I would perhaps go back to that moment and maybe just whisper into the ear of younger me, like, or, something. I don't know. Or maybe I would just watch and get a real complete understanding of exactly why I didn't pursue that harder, maybe.
But you have a band or a solo, you have your own thing now,
yes.
So you got to do it eventually.
Yes, and one of the songs on this album, the song "Give," dates back to kind of that era. Like basically that. I mean, it's so old. Like on every record I've made, I've always snuck one song on that's just ancient for me. That just is all stuck around. Like that I can't get out of my system. And this one was a funny one because I recorded it 4 or 5 times in different like just made different demos of it, sung it with different lyrics, and just finally it exists.
Is that 8-track stuff from that Time Machine thing? Do you still have those recordings?
Yeah.
Why don't you just put them out? Like even quietly drop them somewhere on Bandcamp or
they
something?
are they're a little underconfident. That when I hear them, I hear the potential, and but like, especially vocally, I was really sort of like, just being very, very unenunciative, if that's a word. And
diction issues.
Just confidence. It just sounds very underconfident. Like this is. Suddenly,
you were like 20 or something, right? How young were you?
It was August of 2001 that I think I recorded this stuff. It was right before 9/11 because I had some lyric on there that was the lyric was like, the towers you built knocked over, something like that, with pride or something. And I remember like a couple of months after that, I was like, whoa. I heard it, and
good thing you didn't put that out, because then people would be mad about it.
Yeah, well, I could have,
even though it was a coincidence, because there were some things that happened in 9/11 like that. There were songs or videos that, even though they were made before 9/11, they were they'd have a plane crash in it or some kind of imagery, and then it would all get yanked off the radio or TV.
What was that band? Burning? Was there like a
Burning Airlines? Yeah, they probably had to change
they
their
had
name.
trouble.
There was another. What were they called?
Didn't the Strokes have some sort of trouble?
The Strokes on their original debut album, and this version still came out in the UK, I believe. They had a song called New York City Cops.
Yeah,
it said New York City Cops, they ain't too smart. And then and I think that record came out in like right after 9/11, like November of 2001.
I saw them at the Troubadour like right around then, and I think bought their CD at Virgin Megastore because someone was like, "Oh, I like that. That was a good show."
Was it the one with the butt?
Yeah.
Okay, because that one
was
it was
like the import CD. I had to go to Virgin Megastore.
So you probably have the one with New York City Cops, because everyone was like, understandably, like, yay, New York Cops, first responders and stuff. It was not the time to have a song that said that, so they replaced it with something else. I think "Meet Me in the Bathroom," but yes. There were some other ones. There was
Meet Me in the Bathroom, New York City Cops.
I cannot remember. There was like a rap duo that had like a picture of like the Twin Towers like blowing up on their album cover.
Oh.
And it was like the album wasn't out yet, but it was going to come out that month. Completely coincidental. And they were like, stop the press. So yeah. Anyway.
See, if I would have released my song in August of 2001 with that lyric, I would have seemed like a poetic genius. I would have seemed like...
or conspiracy theorists might have had their way with you. Who knows? I think it's curious, though, that, when you say that maybe when I asked the time machine question, that there was this whole sliding door thing, like maybe you could have had a different life, because since you didn't do that, you went on to have all these amazing adventures playing with not just the Chili Peppers, but Pearl Jam, Elton John. I mean, the list sparks. We'll talk about all this stuff if you want, but like Ozzy Osbourne, like you've played with the biggest of the big, and you've gotten to do things like get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, play like the world's biggest stages, like basically rock star shit.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that when I asked that question, that was your answer, because if none of that would have happened.
No, and it's only because of that, because, when one looks at their life and wonders if anything was, or if anything could have been different or anything like that, I sort of pinpointed it to that moment, because I still have those recordings. And a friend of mine, he and I would put him on, or he, talk about him over the years. And so at one point I thought, like, yeah, that was sort of the real fork in the road for me. Like that moment was such a, none of the things you just mentioned had transpired. I was still just like some kid.
So is this album a drop in the ocean? Is it like Is there any kind of return? Because you know, now that you make music, you don't always make it at home. Sometimes you go to studios, but you make music on your own. And like you said, there's that song "Give" that's from that era. Like, is there any recapturing of your youth, even though you are still young?
I think, because a lot of this stuff is fairly simple. The instrumentation is fairly simple. It's a lot of acoustic guitar. It's not a lot of overdubs. Smaller sounding recordings, which would be more similar to how I used to make stuff at home. Yeah.
We were talking about The Mountain, the Gorillaz album, and how a lot of that album's about loss, death, you know, and in like a nice way, like it's that Indian. They made the album
celebratory
in
way.
Yeah. And there's a song, you mentioned the Foo Fighters and playing with them at SoFi on like the opening day of the soft opening of the world. And there's a song on this album, your new album, that's about Taylor Hawkins. I know that Chad was very good friends with Taylor. I assume you knew him well.
I wouldn't even say well. I mean, I knew him. I just realized when he left us that I had known him for a long time, because I met him in 2000. And I was playing in the Bicycle Thief, and then the Foo Fighters were next, and then the Chili Peppers. And I did, 3 weeks of touring like that. So Taylor, I was just around him every day on that tour, and we would just always talk in the hall and stuff like that. But then as the years went on, and in particular, the last couple of weeks before he died, Eddie Vedder's band, the Earthlings, were on tour. So I was with Chad, Andrew Watt, Chris Chaney, and I'd say those three guys were three of Taylor's best friends. And I certainly, I knew him and loved him, but I wasn't as close as those three with him. But he was, the last show of our tour with Eddie in San Diego, Taylor was on FaceTime in the backstage, kind of like laughing and joking with everybody. And that was not very long before that happens. So I had a couple of long phone conversations with him, and, in the year or two before. And once he was gone, I just saw a lot of kind of weird, stuff floating around, just like lots of accusations or, darkness around something that was already, kind of heartbreaking. And
I mean, like speculation, like that Rolling Stone article.
Yeah, that Rolling Stone article, which I didn't read, but I just remember that there was some retractions, and some.
Actually, Chad spoke out about it because he'd been interviewed for that article, and he was not happy about how his words were twisted to make. There were, I mean, I don't know, I don't know the situation, but it was a very slanted article in a way that seemed kind of weird.
Yeah, I didn't read it. just the whole thing. There was just a cloud around the whole thing that I just, it kept amplifying the sadness around it, and throughout. Obviously, when someone, has such an ending, I just can't help wonder, or hope beyond hope that they knew how much they were loved. So I was sitting with the guitar one day, and it's not like me to write a song so specifically about a person, or about a topical thing that's just happened. Actually, that's not true. Never mind. Scratch that. But I mean, I felt like writing a song about a person that just died. I felt kind of like new territory for me. So I kept on with it. And those lyrics kind of came pretty quickly. And that was definitely, what year was that? Was that 22?
Early 22, like January,
March.
I'm going to say.
March.
It was March 22.
March 25th. I know that because, so that song came, from, I'd say, a month or two after that.
So the title is, I Hope You Knew. So it's like, I hope you knew you were loved, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think he knew.
I hope so.
I mean, anytime
it's more for just that idea. Like, I just, I hope everybody knows that they're loved in general, because most likely they are by someone.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then I guess there's nothing for you to know. But
I mean,
I hope he knew, but more, broadly.
no,
I
it's
hope everyone knows that they're loved by someone, and if they're not, or if they don't know, they either learn that they are or find love.
I mean, it's a lovely sentiment because, just take it off topic of Taylor specifically for a minute. I don't know if you knew the musician Greg Foreman, because I feel like everyone knew him.
No, I'm one of the people that didn't.
But you were one degree of separation from him.
I probably am. We could probably trace it right now.
Absolutely.
Because I was just told about this, and the person that told me followed up with, I can't believe you don't know.
Everybody, I mean, not everybody, but so many people in LA knew him that even people I didn't know, like basically my social media at the time that we're doing this interview, my social media has basically just been Greg for like a solid week. And I went to his memorial a couple days ago, actually. And I remember afterwards talking with some people, and there were people at that memorial. I'm like, oh, you knew Greg too? I didn't even know you knew him, And I was like, I would hope that when I go, whenever that is, hopefully not soon, if I got even a fraction of the outpouring of people just saying such lovely things and I mean, it was just like the entire community. I'm like, he knows.
That is my that was my hope with the song, no matter how much you might be told that you are or experience warmth and love in your day to day, you may forget it briefly.
Do you believe in the afterlife or some kind of afterlife, whether it's heaven or reincarnation or?
No, I would say probably not, because I feel like at the end of the day, once our brain shuts off, we have the whole system shuts down. But at the same time, our body and the impact that we've left on other people, and perhaps the impact we've or the work we've left behind, or the music or anything that lives on. And so I mean, I'm not sure if the dead live on in any way or come back in any way. If they did, I would love it or something, but I have no idea. I mean, leaving it in this realm that I've experienced, I don't. But again, like those, people really leave their mark on the people around them.
Absolutely. And so have you. So to pivot back to you and be a little more cheerful, I feel, I mean, I love that we're talking about this stuff, actually. No, you want to talk more about death and loss and the afterlife? But I feel, you were talking about feeling like you don't have all the time in the world. And I feel like you've been on a real, I don't know if it was coincidental, but you've been on a real creative tear since, it's been 6 years now since you left Red Hot Chili Peppers. You've put out 4 Plural One albums, or you're about to put out a 4th. You have played with so many people, and I want to kind of lightning around that. You've played with the biggest of the big. And I guess I'm asking if, like, have you been feeling like a real creative, artistic resurgence now that, you're kind of a free agent? You can play by yourself, you can play with whoever you want, and it seems like there's a huge demand for your talents,
I wonder. I mean,
you're part of the Wrecking Crew. There's a new Wrecking Crew, y'all.
Oh,
it's you, your buddy Chad Smith, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, and Andrew Watt, and you play with Iggy Pop. You play with. I want to ask about all this. Iggy,
that year, the year a lot of this stuff was written was that year that we were really we were really on fire.
So, like, do you feel like you're having a creative, artistic, musical rebirth in general?
I feel like my life has always just been one upward kind of slant toward creative mania. Like I beat myself up constantly about not getting enough done, or not doing enough, or not focusing enough on, one thing, and sort of diversifying my attention. So I feel like it's just, I'm trying to focus and hone myself, and so I'm hoping it's just going up and up and up, and I'm not having a sort of, I hope I haven't experienced a dip. Like I don't
think you are.
Okay, good. Yeah. So like I'm trying to just do it nonstop. That's all I do.
All right. Well, now I'm going to go to the lightning round
Okay.
of so the Wrecking Crew. I mean, it's not officially called that, but you've been dubbed like a new LA Wrecking Crew. Like you said, it's Chad, who obviously you've continued to work with and be friends with outside of your band used to being together. It's Duff, a band you used to see as a kid, and Guns N' Roses, Andrew Watt, and yourself, Hallowed Group. And here are some of, this is probably not all of them, but this Wrecking Crew, you played on the last 2 Ozzy Osbourne records, right?
Yeah. I actually
crazy.
think that, I'm not sure if I made it on the album, but I definitely did some recording that was in and around it. Those guys definitely have.
But I want to know your experience because, again, I guess now we're getting into morbid stuff again. But when Ozzy, passed last year, obviously it was devastating. We all were devastated. But I was like, what a way to go. Because that guy, unlike most rock stars, got his flowers. He got to perform for beloved fans. I know Chad was there. I think Duff was there. In his hometown in Birmingham. He got to sing one last time 2 weeks, 17 days before he died.
I see that song that I kind of wrote for Taylor. Like I would say that I wouldn't necessarily write that song for Ozzy because I really he strikes me as someone who knew that he knew. Yeah.
He knew. He definitely knew, which
Not to say that
it
Taylor
makes me
wasn't,
happy.
but I just like
Ozzy for sure. Definitely
he
knew.
was celebrated so much, right?
And I wish all rock stars, or not just rock stars, people, as you say, could have that. But what was it like in your, what was it like playing with Ozzy? Those were like comeback records for him.
He wasn't around.
Oh,
yeah. Well, like we did the work that whatever little bit of work I did on one of those records, which I'm again not sure even made it on the record. He wasn't present for. I had the funniest experience once where I was shopping for records in Cuba in a courtyard out in front of my hotel room, and I was sort of like, and then I saw the faces on everyone that I was with change, and I was like, what? And there he was, and Ozzy and another person were right behind me, and then kind of walking away. And I thought that was the strangest. I would never have dreamed of that.
What a life you've had. So you weren't in the room when Elton John and Ozzy did "Ordinary Man," which was definitely a song about mortality.
No, and that was.
That was on, I believe it was on, it was on Ordinary Man.
Okay, yeah. Is that the first or the second one Andrew did?
It's the first one.
First one, yeah. So
and that's the one that Chad and Duff and I believe Andrew, they basically wrote that whole album for him.
And that was the one that I was still in the Chili Peppers for. Chad was always bringing. He always just had new recordings from those sessions, and he would sort of play them. And it all seemed very excited. And that was when I was just getting to know Andrew, and I was just really excited for all those guys. It just seemed before I was sort of a part of that group, I was just really excited for them because there seemed to be a real energy to what they were doing. And then 2021 rolls around, and I'm sure we could talk about it a little bit, but as you well know, the world hasn't heard the Morrissey album that we did together.
It's on the list. Okay, let's jump ahead to that. I have other things I want to.
Okay. Well, that was the first. That was the first thing that I did with Andrew and Chad, full record.
Okay, so for people watching this who don't know, Morrissey had a record that still hasn't come out. It's called Bonfire of Teenagers. I have the notes. Okay, so basically we had a listening party for here at Licorice Pizza. He went straight to Makeup Is a Lie. That's the record that just came out, and did not put out Bonfire of Teenagers. But there was a lot of hype about this Bonfire record because it had you on it, had Flea, it had Chad. So it was a little bit of a Chili Peppers thing. It had Miley Cyrus on it. It had Iggy Pop on it, someone else you played with. We can talk about that. And I don't know if I should. I've heard a little bit of it. I've not heard the whole thing. I heard snippets of it, and what I heard, it was like a really good record. It was very rockin', more rockin' than you would expect.
I think it's
from Morrissey
fantastic.
is probably because the muscularity, the muscle of the band behind it. What happened? Well, tell me all about what it was like. What you're willing to tell me, and is it ever going to come out? Because I think people have their opinions of Morrissey. I got my own conflicted opinions about him, but it was what I heard sounded solid.
Well, the way the world is now, I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything, but, he has just begun a relationship with Sire Records and put out the Makeup Is a Lie album. And it's since he has a label now, I don't, we'll see.
Well, what was it like working with him? Were you in the studio with him at any point?
He would come in at the end of the night. It was incredible for all of us. It was an incredible process because we were sort of given carte blanche to do with his songs whatever we wanted. He had demo versions, and because that was sort of during COVID still, no one was traveling to studios or flying in band members or whatever. So it was this weird moment where him and Andrew sort of got together and said, he had said, okay, well, just see what you can do or whatever, and basically we started one by one recording these songs that he had demoed, and he would show up at sort of dinner time or, 6 or 7 p.m. and he would, for the first time, hear his songs kind of a different way than he had left them or whatever. He had a demo and we would sort of make the song.
I'm surprised. I would imagine him, I've never met him or anything, but I'd imagine him to be like a kind of a control freak.
Well, he may very well be, and I'm not sure, but because of how odd the world was at this time, and because of how fast Andrew particularly works, this was the way this album happened. And because he liked the results, it just carried on happening like that day after day. And I remember January 6th, and we all know what happened that day. That was the day that we did the title track. And I remember doing the piano to that song and, someone coming down the stairs saying, sorry, you guys got to see what's going on upstairs. This is insane.
It's very interesting to me. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
you
please.
keep bringing up, my mind works the same way. Like, you're like, oh, that happened the day of the OJ Bronco chase. That happened right around 9/11. That happened like January. Like, it's interesting how you associate things in your career with shit shows that were going on in the world.
Well, shit. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of datey. I'm good with dates. And it's probably just from that, like sort of, I remember that there was a relationship between that moment in time and this thing. And then, yeah, I mean, I think, I've freaked the Pearl Jam guys out a little bit because they'll start talking about something or mention a gig or a story. And because when I was a kid, I memorized their tour dates, I'd be like, oh, well, that was June 24th, 1995.
And they're like, all right, simmer down.
And they're like,
that's cute.
But yeah, but I think they're a little worried.
Well, they've kept you around, so I guess they've gotten over that. But so the Morrissey album, Bonfire of Teenagers, that was the first time that your wrecking crew, so to speak, worked together. And I guess Morrissey liked what he heard because, like, you made a whole album. You made a whole album?
Yeah, made a whole album. And it was only after the album was finished that it was sort of, it just never... He was just between labels at that point. So that was the reason it never came out, because he just had a hard time securing a deal.
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be boring to talk about it. I guess I assume whatever label he was on when that was being made, I think it was Capitol. Or...
No, that was before Capitol. He was on
he
was
label?
labelless.
Then why doesn't he own the record? And I would assume it was like whatever label he was on was like, we own this and we don't want to release it.
No,
or we don't want to release it to another label to put out.
Are you asking why he didn't put it out himself?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Do you know?
I don't know. Well,
okay.
No, I think he wanted.
I mean, like I said, I've only heard snippets of it, but I was like, this is a surprising record from him, because with this wrecking crew behind him, it wasn't like a metal record or a hard rock record by any means. It still sounded like Morrissey because it's his voice, but there was like a oomph to it.
Yeah, well, and there was also an oomph to it because we literally were doing a song a day, and we were like, let's just throw it down, get it. I mean, working with Andrew, especially at that time in the studio he had at the time, which was the basement to a house in, Benedict Canyon. I was, for a couple of those songs in particular, I played bass on one. I remembering I was this far from the drums. I was this far from Chad. I would feel the wind of the cymbal. So that was, among many things, one of the greatest things about working with Andrew is that he really prizes live playing, and especially since I have such a relationship with Chad, I mean, it was like so second nature for me to be right there. I mean, I think my hearing has suffered from standing so close to Chad Smith, and just because it's almost like I can't get close enough because he's so much fun to play with. And on stage we had like such a jovial kind of smiley relationship, because every time he did something, because Chad always Chad never plays the same thing twice. There's always a new accent or a fill, and I started as a drummer, so I can't stop looking at him, giving him winks and smiles.
I'm glad that the two of you have kept up, not just your friend. I mean, I guess you've kept up your friendship. There's no animosity with you and your former bandmates, but I'm glad that you've not only just kept up your friendship, but that you've kept up your working relationship, because you've had some great adventures doing that. And that, was Morrissey nice, by the way?
Oh yeah, he was great. He was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, he would just come in, and again, like to be he's always been such a hero of mine. So at first I would just kind of hang in the back, and then there was a few times where he came in one time. I was in the vocal booth doing an acoustic guitar part, so we needed isolation. So I'm in there, and I heard from the vantage point I could see that there was a new entry, and I kind of knew what to the room, and I knew what time it was. And I go, oh, shit, I'm not done yet. He's going to be here when I'm throwing this down. And it was it was an amazing moment to be, working with him like that.
So I mentioned Elton John, and one of my favorite records, and it really surprised me last year, was the record he did with Brandi Carlile, Who Believes in Angels. It was a very funky, scrunky, like the opening, like kind of glam rock, like it very much harkened back to maybe what people think of as classic 70s Elton. It had a lot of oomph to it. It was very
and that muscular. The intro of the album is supposed to be kind of Funeral for a Friendie, like the beginning of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. It's supposed to be like these days that's quite a long intro, but this was, for a modern record, this was like nearly a minute of
that was
intro.
You on the keys, right?
Yeah. And I was given the task to make an intro. We didn't, and I originally had composed something. I took a couple of days, and I was really trying to work, and I wrote something that was 5 minutes long. And then suddenly out of the blue, Andrew said, "Oh, we're coming over. Elton wants to hear what you're doing." And I was like, "It's not done. It's not done." And we listened to it, and then he walked out, and he told Andrew, "Oh, it's great, but it's too long," which is, of course. But I was given the assignment to do a funeral for my friend thing. Funeral for a friend.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
And I mean that experience doing that record with them, which again was sort of a last minute thing. Like Andrew said, "Hey, come down, bring your stuff, bring your synth stuff," and little did I know that I'd be doing it for a month or however long we worked on it, and it was such a incredible experience.
And if I'm not mistaken, because Elton retired from touring in 2000, touring in 22. He played in London doing that thing that I actually saw you in London at that time, a TV special.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there. You played that, and you also did Saturday Night Live with him a week or two later. Are those the last times he's performed a full show? Well, the one in London, I feel like that might have been his last. He doesn't perform much anymore because of his health.
Yeah, and I had thought that because I read somewhere that he was going to go to South America, because I guess he skipped it or didn't get a chance to go down there because of the time that his farewell tour was going on. So either he has just done that, or he's about to do that. So yeah, it might be what you said might be true.
Was in general, I mean, he's he put a documentary around the time that record came out, or that shows that. He'll be the first to admit it. He can be a difficult person to work with. He can have a temper, but he's Elton, and we all love him. What was your experience working with him?
Well, I kind of, at the beginning of the record, it was a crazy experience for me, because I was set up in a different room than the rest of the band, and they would sort of send over what they had done the previous day for me to kind of sprinkle myself on top of, and do little synthesizer treatments or keyboards. I've basically done all the keyboards on that album I had done. So my time with Elton was less than the rest of the band, but toward the end of the project, when he started hearing what I was doing in the other room, because it was now being introduced and all the mixes he was hearing, he was happy with what I was doing, which was amazing. So I had more to do with him at the end. But so any of the stuff in the documentary about him, any difficulty at the beginning of the record, I didn't really experience. I would only hear about it.
I'm not asking you to shit talk him, because he'll shit talk himself.
Yeah, I wouldn't shit talk him.
He'll put out in more than one documentary, "Look at me having a tantrum." He owns it.
And tantrums are,
he owns it.
I give anyone, I support anyone feeling, being themselves enough to have a tantrum. I'm always I'm concerned with other people's feelings too much, I think.
You have tantrums with yourself.
Exactly.
As you said.
Well, I should have the tantrum or some adult version of a tantrum. And instead my steering wheel gets it or something.
So let's talk about the ageless Iggy Pop. I could talk to you all day, and we kind of already have, but I just have a couple other people that you. I have a couple other people that you've worked with, and with this Wrecking Crew, you were on Every Loser, which is the I guess it was maybe 22 or 23. I don't remember what year it was, but an Iggy Pop record you guys did together.
Yeah, I don't know when it came out, but it was done directly after the Morrissey record. And
I mean, God, you were just checking off the list of all the icons.
And that happened because I can't remember whose idea it was, but I know that I helped get Iggy's contact info through a friend of mine who had worked with him. But the idea came up to have Iggy's voice on a song or at the end of a song, and it worked out perfectly. But in doing so, Andrew and Iggy developed a quick friendship over the phone, and then he sent him some music, and then like before you know it, we were doing a Iggy record, or Andrew's doing one, and like he Taylor's on that record with Eric Avery, and like the cast of characters was a little varied. It was like with the Morrissey record, it was basically just Andrew, Chad, and myself. Jesse Tobias came in and played. Flea on the trumpet came in later. Like
on the Morrissey record?
Yeah, on the Morrissey record.
Okay.
Flea came in like a couple months after it was done. But this Iggy record was, a kind of a few groups of people. Like I played on a song, or I can't remember actually. It didn't make it because I did some playing with. You've
done so much with your life that you can't remember what you did with Iggy Pop.
It was a lot of it was all done here, and then Andrew went and worked with Iggy in Florida in Miami.
So you didn't get to meet
No,
Iggy?
I didn't get to meet Iggy until
because what an inspiration he is when it. Oh, you did get to.
Well, we played. They did a little tour. They did like 4 or 5 shows, and I was working with Pearl Jam, so I couldn't do the tour, but I was able to do the Jimmy Kimmel, and then we had a dinner, like a sort of celebratory dinner. About the album is out now, because I think we may have done Kimmel the day the record came out.
Where was the dinner?
At Andrew's house.
Oh, okay.
And so
was Iggy wearing a shirt?
I don't remember. But he was certainly not wearing a shirt when he came barreling onto the stage for the Jimmy Kimmel performance, and he was like, "Fucking go!" Like he psychs everyone out before the song is counted off, and it was like incredible.
He's so rad.
But I gave his manager a note. I said, "Could you give this to Iggy?" And I wrote him like a real sweet note, because he's the hero of mine. And I didn't get a ton of time with him because I couldn't do the tour, and I felt badly that I couldn't do the tour. I don't even know if he knows who I am or if he gives a shit. But
he gives a shit.
Well, I'm
he
sure.
Seems like a nice guy.
No, I totally is. But I wasn't sure if he knew. Like, I don't know if he knew. Like, oh, the guitar player over there can't do it. But I was sort of. I wrote a note. I was really like. It was heartbreaking to me that I couldn't do the tour.
I have to ask what the note said.
I could actually pull up. I take like a carbon copy. I could read it to you. I'm sure I could find it in my phone. But it just basically said it's beyond an honor to be involved in this record, and luckily I've gotten to play with you today, because that was the day I gave him the record. And I'm so sorry I can't do the tour. You mean a lot to me. And
Aww. That's very wholesome. It's very sweet.
No, he that day and the previous night at dinner, he was just so genuinely sweet and kind of open. Like he seems like a real special person.
Yeah,
which you always can like he's has a very hard past, and like, but I think like a lot of people that I am drawn to, you can really tell that there's a really big heart there, and like a really deep sort of human feeling.
So he is, I think, setting an amazing template for aging in rock, aging gracefully or ungracefully, proudly ungracefully. And then you've worked with Sparks, who are on the new Gorillaz record, and they're like in their 80s and haven't actually one kind of the biggest moment of their career since probably the 1980s. And you played with them for a couple of years.
Yes, and that was an amazing experience. Like, and that was sort of Steve McDonald's fault. Like that, he pulled me into that, and that was, like the universe opening in this crazy way. They had a guitar player, Dean Menta. Do you know him? He played with Faith No More for a while. He was the guitar player, but they wanted a rhythm player, and Steve said, "Come on, you don't have to learn. It's just do the rhythm. It's just, it'll be easy for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, great."
Can't imagine playing any Sparks songs are easy though.
No, not
like
easy, but like
crazy.
I didn't have to like learn
Right.
solos or learn, it was just like the chords, just be the, and I think I knew most of the songs already. So that's what I mean by easy. Like I didn't have to, I wasn't, I didn't have a lot of responsibility. I was just.
Why weren't you in their documentary? It had like a million people talking. It was like 2 hours of people talking about how great they were.
That was pure scheduling. That was like, I was back and forth with Edgar's team about that a few times, and it was just from my touring schedule. And then, they were obviously like sort of London based, and when they were here, and then, it was heartbreaking to me that I missed it.
Well, we could maybe turn this black and white for a second. Because as you know, like if you haven't seen the Sparks Brothers, people watching this, it's basically like every person in the world from Beck to Jank Antonoff to Vince Clarke to, the crazy Weird Al Yankovic, all talking about how great Sparks are. So if you had your, what would you have said? The camera's on you. Edgar Wright asked you about Sparks. What would you have said?
They're the sort of epitome of creative dedication and nonstop drive and sort of beautifully obsessive, uncompromising work ethic, and that is above all, like to me, that's just the greatest thing. They're clearly driven by a passion for what they do, and you just can't say that about everybody. And, to say band, but I mean for a group, for people that, the brothers, and that's its own thing with the love between brothers. But I mean, for people to do the amount of great work that they've done over the span of time that they've done it is just, it's like, unrivaled. So
they're also brothers, and we've talked about them already, but the last collab I'll ask about is Red Cross. They also had a great documentary that came out a year ago. You're at the end of it. Billed is like their 82nd drummer, or I don't know.
Some unrealistic number.
They've had a lot of drummers. You drummed on the Red album. That's like, it's unofficially called the Red album, the double album they put out in 2024. And I believe you produced it as well. And you have a friendship that obviously goes way back, particularly with Steve. But how did that come about?
That came about at a Sparks show, actually. Oh. Well, that's what Steve says. And I went with Steve to see Sparks at Hollywood Bowl.
I was there. With They Might Be Giants opening up?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw like my entire friend group there.
I'm sure I saw you there that night. So Steve bought tickets because we were convinced their guest list would be nuts. It was LA, so we just wanted to go. And then somehow we were sat right behind their manager and their like close friends. Like so we were in a box right behind. So. And obviously I know them from playing with them. And so it was like this very sweet, loving, familial experience. And then Jeff came, and I can't remember if Anna came, but it was just like we were all sort of there together. And Steve and I may have talked about doing some Red Cross work, or we had done the Born Innocent song already. I can't remember right now what the chronology is, but there was talk about doing it, and then once we were there together, and it was sort of me and Jeff and Steve together, in Steve's mind, it was solidified, and we began. I actually had to push them back 2 weeks, like any sought-after producer would. Maybe joking, completely joking,
I mean,
but it was because of the Elton record. I literally went.
It's a good excuse.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to work with Elton John.
I had to put. I didn't trust anybody with all the synthesizer equipment I brought to that session, so I was loading it, let's say on a Tuesday. I spent the whole day moving out of Sunset Sound where we did that back to my space, and we started on a Wednesday. Like I was like literally the next day started with Red Cross, and as I have said to them and to anyone who brings it up, it's like it was the easiest production job I could ever, I probably on earth or in the history of music, because the songs were so damn good.
Great record.
Thank you. I mean, like
You did a great job.
Thank you.
But so did
I mean, it was so much fun to do, and it's just so easy to do. Just the amount of I don't know, the amount of brilliance in those songs, I thought was just it was like unquestionable. I didn't have to do anything. I just learned them and play drums to them, but I didn't have to make any hard cuts or any, nothing. They did such a great job.
They know they've been around for a bit.
Do.
Well, we've basically covered your whole life, your whole resume, your whole Wikipedia page. But what would be your dream collab? Someone you haven't worked with yet, that you would like to? You've worked with so many people already.
Is it
Let's
goofy?
Put it out there.
Since we talked about him, I'd love to. Come on, Damon. Let's do this.
Damon Albarn.
Yeah, I went to Ethiopia with him.
Wait, you did? You know him.
Yes.
You know Damon.
I
didn't know.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, because right when I joined the Chili Peppers, Flea was asked to go to Ethiopia because he had done one of their Africa Express trips already, and Chad and Anthony, like they couldn't just drop everything on a dime. They have kids and go. But I was like, let's go. So Flea and I went, and it was like, I think, like 3 days after he got the call, we were on a plane to London to meet up with the Africa Express group, which is an amazing thing that Damon and a couple other guys started. And next thing you know, we were in Addis Ababa, and we basically were on like a sort of musical field trip. Like we had a tour manager and a schedule, and every day we had a new musical excursion. Like we saw some a cappella, these amazing singers, these women, sort of, can't remember if it was in a church or not, but it was like every day there was a new musical experience, different kind of Ethiopian music, different kind of performance, and then on the last night we all had a big jam at a bar. It was amazing. It was one of the
what a life. What a life.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that, there's been some speculation given the nature of this Gorillaz record that it's their last album, but I don't think it will be. So Damon Albarn, if you are watching this, I'm sure he's watching this, please, you probably know, we hit him up. That, I feel like that's a doable, because he works with so many different people, like of so many, much like Sparks, like he has like the roads that lead back to what he does are many roads.
I've just, one of my greatest talents has been weaseling my way into different things, and for some reason he hasn't taken the bait. He hasn't. I have not successfully weaseled.
Well, I'm glad you weaseled your way into here. We talked for like 8 hours, so I should probably let you go. But the coffee helped. But I wasn't sure if I was
allowed to like sort of.
Oh, because the brandy.
Yeah.
That's all right. But in terms of Plural One and your whatever else you have planned for your career, to sum up, what's next for you? You have this sense that you don't have all the time in the world, so what do you want to do next?
I started album number 5 last week, because this one is 2022, let's say. All the stuff was started to record that in 2022. Then there was the pile from 2023. So I was trying to get them both out this year, because I just need to kind of empty the bin.
Will the new stuff you work on or release be more reflective of the shit show of our dark times?
Yes.
All right, I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's mostly about the darkest of the dark.
Awesome. I like darkness, as you know, the band as well as the thing. But there's been no dark. We got into some heavy stuff, but this has been so enjoyable. So I can't thank you enough for giving Licorice Pizza
and
so
we
much
run
of your
into
time.
each other all the time, and we talk when we see each other for a while. So and we didn't blow our conversational load. No. We had stuff to talk about.
I kind of feel like with your life there will always be things to talk about. So you're obviously welcome back here anytime to talk about the next record. Okay, cool. Same time tomorrow. In the meantime, thanks everybody for watching. This has been very epic, Josh. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Really, thank you.